I also did 7-day roguelike, and seeing as the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo was released on Monday, I decided to spend the week demaking Final Fantasy into a roguelike. So I took the battle mechanics of Final Fantasy VII, the original, and tried to translate it to a roguelike. And the way I wanted to go about this was building with an entity component system in Unity and a command-based pattern to build all the framework and infrastructure. So this is currently a character walking around a level with commands and being able to vault over fences and duck under gratings, which all has different movement costs. It's all being simulated in time-space. So if I then go across here, you can see that all the commands are being registered based on what it was previously doing. And that on its own took quite a few classes. At the end of the day, my roguelike ended up being 5,000 lines of code, not counting spaces, comments, line breaks, and anything that was generated by the ECS. And the sheer amount of enums and virtual classes I had to make just to describe things in the combat system is kind of intense. Most of the mathematics for Final Fantasy VII has been mapped out and has been for about 2 decades by people on GameFAQs and on the wikis and all sorts of places where you can just get all the information breaking down to the bytecode every single bit of Final Fantasy VII, which gives you plenty to work with, which means you end up writing large classes that look like this, just to try and get the basic combat system going. This, for instance, is something that lays out what the definition for ice materia is, as in how much it reduces your hit points by, what commands it gives you when it levels up, how much level up it needs, all those fun things. This would be an example of the class for controlling when you change your equipment, how it will change your stats. Also goes on for quite some time. The ECS I was using was Entitas, which I recommend over Unity's own ECS system, at least until it's stabilized, because it gives you fancy inspector windows that look like this, which are all very much in a reactive state. So if I change one of these values in the editor, it will change it in the game. And gives, basically that would be the setup code for building the first fight in Final Fantasy VII, which is Cloud versus 2 Shinra Guards. As I was going through it, I ended up putting in fancy visual effects like the numbers popping up, as it should do in a Final Fantasy game, and characters running around on the screen. Because if I'm using Unity, I may as well use it in a way that allows me to do those type of things. So here's Cloud fighting and doing 36 points of damage and 7 points of damage back, which, if people have played enough of Final Fantasy VII like me, know that's the numbers you get in the fights, because I made a very, very close to accurate simulation of the mathematics for at least the first few fights. The aim was to try and build every single enemy and every single part of Maka Reactor 1 as my roguelike, but I fell well short because I'm not very good at AI programming. But it started to look like this around halfway through, with little characters running around, and little Shinra Guards being defeated and even fading out into red like they do in the original game. I ended up adding lots of extra UI interface elements, like your hit bar changing, the limit break going up, as well as a input command window. Ended up adding mouse controls because that was the easiest way to do the command pattern at the end of the day, as well as giving gateway controls when you walk into things and attack them. And so by the end of it, it looks kind of like this, hopefully. If it wants to load. So because I coded most of the materia system, I coded in bits of materia, including things you don't start with. And you can move around and play the game properly. All the available commands are listed below here, so I can now climb down the ladder. And because it's me, I put in that very, very simple binary space partitioning algorithm for splitting up dungeons, which I talked about at the beginning of Global Game Jam this year. So sadly though, this is the entire game. Just one enemy type, one cloud, no materia switching, no items, no pickups, no potions. The limit break will go up, but it won't actually give you the ability to use the limit break. So overall, I consider it a bit of a failure, but it has given me a nice solid framework to work on for the roguelike project that I keep pressing to work on, the one that's idea 14 out of the 31 I keep pitching. For those who don't follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. You'll get to hear all about it. So yeah, that is my game. It is playable on my itch.io page as part of the 7-day roguelike challenge. Go give it a thumbs up and give Reese a thumbs up as well, because we need votes at this point.